Okay.
All right.
Zark, welcome to the
Thank
Elemental
you.
Awakening. This is our first recorded episode of this new show, and I'm super excited to have you here
I'm honored.
as our
Thank
first
you.
guest. Yeah,
An
so
inaugural shoot.
awesome. So the show's about just things that I find interesting, I guess, people, ideas, concepts, and it's filmed in Toronto here. So there's a lot of interesting people in Toronto. There'll also be some shows from around the world, different places. But I really want to focus a good percentage of the guests from Toronto because I think the people in Toronto come from such a diverse city, and there's so many influences on people's lives here in Toronto. So I'm super stoked to have you as our guest. So for those of you who don't know who Zark is, he comes from the entertainment industry. And growing up, I would always hear about this promotion company called ZRF. And they were everywhere. They had all the major clubs. You'd always see their signs everywhere. You see these cool guys at the front with these jackets on and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it might have been you a couple times that I was just trying to get in line, trying to grease a bouncer. But that seems like years ago for me. And since then, I know you've done so much more. You were in the restaurant business, multiple different businesses. So you're an entrepreneur like myself. And then you made a shift and you're doing something totally different now. So I want to hear all about your story, where you came from, how you got to where you're doing. So welcome to the show. And yeah, take it away. Tell me a bit about yourself. Let the viewers know.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So, high school dropout from Scarborough. Just didn't ever, never felt like I fit in back there. So, moved downtown early age. Ended up moving to Miami at the age of 23, and Miami just discovered what nightlife could be like, and started working the bars at a young age. So, kind of worked my way up, clubs, bars, and moved to Miami. Saw what the promised land was, moved back to Toronto and started throwing parties, which is probably where you and I met, somewhere along the way. And nightlife was great. I had a lot of fun doing it. Did that for many, many years. Went from being a promoter, club owner, then diversified into opening restaurants, opened Blowfish, a couple other ones, and then more projects like Digital Dreams with Live Nation. We did Hammam Spa, opened a hair salon, health supplements. Multiple clubs, Century Room, which then turned into Everly, which we still have, Maison Mercer, which closed down last year. So it's been a very dynamic, exciting, successful 25-year run in nightlife and entertainment, and then I woke up at 40.
So were you always an entrepreneur, or did you get into nightclub
Yeah.
first and then you felt something there, or was it always in your blood to start a business?
When I was I got maybe 8 or 10 years old, I would charge my brother's friends a quarter to play Atari in our basement. So I was always thinking how to hustle
Hustling.
some way,
Hustling.
And I've always worked, and anywhere I've worked, I've always kind of looked at like, how would I do this my own way? How would I do it different? So I think the first company I started was when I was like 19 years old. It was called Hype Movement, and it was a go-go dancing agency. Because, you might not know this, but I actually started in nightlife as a go-go dancer.
Oh, really? Wow. I can
Yeah.
sort of see it now. I could see it now, but I would have never guessed it.
Yeah, so, and again, working in the industry, I'm like, there's got to be a easier, more organized way to do this. So,
Seeing the pain point, seeing the
Exactly.
opportunity. And that's
Yeah,
part of being
yeah.
entrepreneurs, finding those sort of
Totally.
like gaps in the market where you
Yeah.
can sort of fill in a need, right?
yeah, and creating that opportunity, right? So, been entrepreneurial from a young age, and it's in me. I see an idea, an opportunity, I just get consumed by it and just go all in. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like it's too much? Like every little thing then becomes a business opportunity? Like the serial entrepreneur me gets that a lot. And lately I've sort of had to really sort of wrap my head around, hey, I just
Yeah.
need to do what I'm aligned with now. Or before it was like, oh, can you make money doing that? Let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah, so I went through that stage for probably good 10 years of my life, where when you're an entrepreneur and things are like happening and you're doing well, it's like you find it hard to say no to opportunities because every one of them just sounds, great. You can do it. And what you fail to realize is there's only 24 hours in the day. So when you've got 2 or 3 companies, it's one thing. When you've got 6 or 7, it's like, unless you've got the infrastructure and the team to support you with all these new endeavors, you just keep splitting that 24 hours into more and more slices, and then you got no life. Then all it is you sleep 6 hours, you get up and you work all day, and that's not fun. And I think what many entrepreneurs forget is the reason why we go out on our own, the reason why we start our own business is because we want to have say or control over how much we make, so that we can enjoy a great quality of life. And that's where you lose sight. You get so caught up in the business, so obsessed with growing and scaling and making money that your quality of life goes to shit. So then
You get lost in there somewhere. You forget what you were going for in the first place.
Totally.
Yeah.
You're so caught up with just that next goal, the grind, that you forget that you're becoming an entrepreneur, so you have more free time and money to enjoy your freedom. But I don't know too many entrepreneurs who actually got that.
The very disciplined ones can.
Yep.
Most cannot.
Totally.
Most cannot. And yeah, and there's a lot of people now that want to become entrepreneurs because the cool thing, like entrepreneurs is sexy, it's cool, but a lot of people don't realize what all the stuff that comes along with being an entrepreneur, those 40-hour days, those
40-hour days, those are long days.
Yeah, the 40-hour days. It's like that one day turns into 2, almost 3 days. You haven't slept.
Got it. Okay, got it.
And you don't have a chance to hit the reset button.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes along with it. So if you're a young aspiring entrepreneur, it is cool, but it's a lot of hard work too.
It is.
So tell me, so what happened? So you're doing well, things seem to be going good. You're starting to realize you're a little bit overworked and you're not. What happened? What was the awakening or the change in your life? Was it a single point you can pinpoint, or was it a gradual sort of?
I started to lose my love and passion for the industry when things started to change. I think you and I lived through a very special time in Toronto nightlife where everything was new, everything was fresh, it was exciting. Fast forward 10, 15 years later, everything's been done. Now things are getting saturated. You go out to clubs, nobody's dancing or having fun anymore. Everybody's on their phone, taking selfies, scrolling Instagram. So it's just like, okay, it's changed. It's not as fun as it once was. It's lost the social aspect of it. So I started to lose my love for the business, and then business started to also taper off. It just wasn't as lucrative and financially rewarding as it once was, because now there's more clubs, more competition. And, I had just gotten a bit complacent. I had gotten a bit too comfortable in my success, traveling around the world and just living it up. And, then our staff started to become our competition. The promoters we once hired were now our rivals a block down, and they're younger and they're cooler and they've got, the stronger following.
Did you go through that similar process when you were a promoter coming up, and then you sort of became your boss's competitor?
For sure.
So it's a general sort of like, that's the evolution.
That's a cycle. And that's the thing, like, unless you're going to keep going out and keep staying hot at the different festivals and all the events that go on around the world, so you have your finger on the pulse of what's new in nightlife, unless you're going to keep doing that work, keep building those relationships, eventually you just kind of become obsolete. Eventually you just kind of like lose touch, right? So, so nightlife started changing, the money changed, I changed, I got older, I don't want to be out as much anymore. And, I think the real catalyst for me was waking up at 40 and just realizing that I'm not where I thought I'd be, personally, professionally, or financially. I was not where I thought I'd be at 40. And for me, that was like, oh, wait a minute. How did that happen? Because I'm 40. That happened real quick.
So where did you think you were going to be? Did you have a clear image of what 40 was going to look like to you?
So that's the thing. I had an idea, a vague idea of where I hoped to be, but I did not have a clear image and I did not have a plan. So at 40, I thought, when you're in 20s or 30s, 40 sounds so far away that you think that you got all the time in the world. But 40 came quick. And at 40, I thought I'd be married or in a significant relationship. Definitely thought, the plan to have kids would be unfolding. And I was single. I'd had a number of girlfriends who were all wonderful women, but not the right dynamic for a partnership that would lead to family and children. I didn't love my career anymore. I didn't love nightlife, yet I felt stuck in it because I'd been doing it for 25 years. I was like, well, what else am I going to do now? And I was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because I'd been living this luxurious lifestyle way beyond my means, spending money like a trust fund millionaire when I wasn't, high school dropout from Scarborough. And when business started to taper off and the profits started to drop, I was just going through a crazy burn rate. So at 40, I was like, okay, something's got to change. So that was really sort of the turning point for me. Now, from the outside looking in, I was living life. People, looked at, okay, traveling all over the world, beautiful girlfriends, famous friends, and cool parties, nice cars, and oh yeah, I'm living the life. So when I started to, open up and share with people, it's like, no, like, I'm not happy. Things aren't going the way I hoped, and I really need to start making some changes. Some people were really surprised by that because, again, you look at people's lives on social media and you think that that 1% highlight reel that they're posting is actually what what their life is, and it's obviously so not.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So interesting. So what happened next? So you have this realization, but it's not like you can just leave the investments, the
Yeah.
restaurants, the staff, and just pick up and do something. But what happened in your case? I know you started making some changes pretty quick too,
Yeah,
right?
so I knew that, okay, what I'm doing is not working, and I got to figure out what what's missing. Like, what am I doing? Like in my relationships, I kept dating the same woman, but in a different body, same age, same dynamic, and I knew, okay, well, something's got to change here, and I didn't know what the answer was and what was missing or what needed to shift, but I was committed. I'm like, okay, I got to figure this one out. So big game changer for me was Landmark. A good friend of mine who I've known for over 20 years bought me the Landmark Forum as a present, and she said, "Look, I don't know what you're going to get out of it, but you're going to learn something about yourself that could make a difference." And she was right. I mean, that was a big one for me. I got to really discover where this behavior, where these patterns were coming from. And I knew that I had to start changing certain things that I was doing, changing where I travel, changing who I hang out with, changing with the content that I'm learning or exposing myself to, and started traveling to summits and forums, started spending more time in nature, started to drift away from friends who were kind of still in that world. And, slowly over the course of months and years, my life really started to change and unfold. And I was really committed to doing the work because I realized as I started sharing with people what I was going through, I was now creating the possibility for some really amazing conversations where they now had permission to open up and share what was going on with
Mm.
them. And my story and my struggles inspired them and showed them that we all got our issues, even when our lives looked like this like perfectly curated Instagram feed. We're all full of shit.
I
We
you
all
know
got
what?
issues.
I love it so much, like the vulnerability of you sharing your story. I think it's so super powerful, especially the work that you're doing now. How many people do you think they're still in those nightclubs that wish they had something else available to them or not sure yet,
Hmm.
but they just feel that like, what am I doing here? I feel that a lot. I went through it myself. I see some of my friends and stuff that they just feel like they're in this habit that they have to
Hmm.
go and drink every Friday, maybe do some drugs just to
Yeah.
like, because that's the thing that they do.
Right.
But they're really under the surface. They
Hmm.
have no idea what they want to do and they're unhappy. Do you think there's a lot of that? Do you think it's just a small fraction of the people? Like,
What's interesting is being in clubs for 25 years, I've seen the cycle of people going out and partying when they're my age in our 20s, and then they get hook up, to get married, they have some kids, they kind of drop off. 15, 20 years later, they're back again. Now they're divorced and they've got 3 kids and they've got a bit more money and they're out in the clubs and they're living that life again. And the people that I do see that end up back in the clubs, or the people that never left the clubs and still in that environment, I feel that they are still looking for fulfillment. They're still looking. They're bored. They're a bit lost. They are focusing on their outer purpose and searching for these temporary boosts of pleasure,
mhm.
whether it be going out, getting drunk, picking up, getting laid, going out, showing off their car, their whatever. They're going out and they're kind of caught up in that superficial scene. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just where they're at, and it's
Mm.
okay. And people do go to clubs to dance and socialize and have fun for sure. And a lot of people go out because it's their escape from reality.
Mm.
It's escape from their life. That they go out, they have a few drinks, and they get to pretend to be whoever they hope they would be or will be one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the nightlife scene and And I don't want to trash it, and I'm not trashing it by any means.
Yeah, I'm not trying to lead you in
it's
that
been good
direction
to
because
me
I'm sure
for
a lot of
many
your
years.
friends are still in the industry and you don't want to.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, when you're young and you want to go out, drink, have fun, and do all that, yeah, of course, you got to do that. Like,
do you think it's changing now that people are looking for other ways to socialize because of this sort of dead end that this alcohol, drug, music, club, bar scene, it's got boring. You know what I mean? It's like the same shit. There's no real connection. Now, like you said, with social media, most people at the bars aren't even talking to each other. They're on their phone.
Yeah.
I've seen things like ecstatic dances starting to come up. I've seen like New York, other cities, like these like dry bars where they just serve fancy cocktails. But I still think there needs to be more.
Yeah.
Something that's more exciting or entertaining or more. Do you see that trend as well? Do you feel that? Do you think people are not ready for that? What do you think?
So I think that with social media, with people being able to create events that are a bit more niche, that are a bit more specific to people who have certain preferences, certain interests, that these different communities of people who are into, whether it be ecstatic dance, whether it be just sound healing, sound baths, whether it be, tribal drums, whether it be whatever social gathering, now through social media, you can find out about all these different types of events. Like, I went to an event on Friday called New Love, and it was a group yoga class, followed by a meditation, and then an ecstatic dance. No alcohol. There was, water and kombucha. And
what was the crowd like? Was it like a very hippie yoga crowd, or was it more like a?
Okay, so
like, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think there's going to be a convergence between the two? Where because I know a lot of people that would be in my past life would look at that and say those people are crazy. Like, I would never see myself as something like that.
Oh, 5 years ago, I would have said these people are
Same
crazy.
thing.
What I'm doing. So
I guess it's where you're at, right?
Yeah.
I guess when you're ready.
So first off, it's 95% women, so
not
that's
bad.
interesting. that
Single guy.
Yeah. So it's interesting that it's predominantly women. I wouldn't say it was like a real hippie, like woo type crowd. It was a mix.
Nothing wrong with that either.
Nothing wrong with that at all. But usually when you hear about an event like that right away, you think everybody's gonna smell like patchouli and like have dreads or whatever, right? But no, like total mixed crowd, really cool crowd, mixed ages as well. Like there are people probably like in their early teens, right, until their 50s. So that was cool to see that diversity. What was amazing was everyone was speaking to each other. Everybody was talking. Everybody was interacting.
See, that's the thing, and that's real social connection, and that's what a lot of people are lacking. A lot of the events that we throw, like that's the biggest thing. Or even at Elemental, at our space, it's always like there's two strangers sitting in a waiting room. I always introduce them. I find it weird how and it's in my own nature too. That you sit in a waiting room, you're beside other humans. We're the only animal that would pretend there's not someone beside us.
Yeah.
Any other animal will give it a sniff. They'll say hello. They'll take off the other way. Humans, we're able to like ignore life.
Yeah.
That's sitting right beside us. That we can. Just, hey, how's it going? Most people do.
Yeah.
So, and I think that is the kind of energy that is missing in nightlife, that everyone talks to everyone type thing.
Yeah. And again, in a lot of people who are going to the nightlife scene, I don't know if they're showing up as their authentic self. So how do you engage with someone and start a conversation when you're not being your authentic self, right? So I think that's a big difference between something like...
Well, I think that's why they're there in the first place, because they don't know who they are.
Yes.
And they want to fit in with something.
Yeah.
And they're using drugs and alcohol to sort of take down that barrier of like pretending.
Yeah.
So they feel comfortable to let loose a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's why, like, at an event like the one I went to on Friday, everybody's social and open and okay to dance without any alcohol, and it was actually pretty bright. Like the club guy in me was like, "We need to turn these lights off. It's there's not enough bass."
My wife throws ecstatic dance in the same way. Put it louder, lights down. But I think that's hiding again, right? Like the sound is sort of creating that sort of safety barrier around you. That and the lights too. You feel more comfortable because no one can look at you, right?
Yeah.
You feel more safe.
Yeah.
But it's just these sort of subconscious ideas of like people are gonna look at me, and what I find about these events, no one gives a shit what you're doing.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit what you're wearing. You know what I mean? They're not there to judge you. They're there to connect with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big difference that I would like to see expanded on in more of these social gatherings for sure.
Yeah. And ecstatic dance is gaining popularity. There's these guided movement meditation type things that I've done in Costa Rica, and wow, they're awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on to that. Okay, so
Okay.
we sidetracked a bit here. So
Okay.
you were going through these changes. You decided you needed a change.
Yeah.
At which point did you really make that switch from entrepreneur, nightlife to what you're doing now? Tell us a
Yeah.
bit about what you're doing now.
So when I realized, okay, I don't want to open up any more clubs and restaurants or bars, I thought to myself, well, what the hell am I going to do now? I've been doing this for 25 years. And what I did know was I want to work where I want, when I want, with who I want. And that I want to jump up out of bed every morning excited to go to work or do whatever it is I'm doing, because what I'm creating is purposeful and has a positive impact for others. So that was sort of like my mandate or requirements for what it was I was going to create. So then I thought, well, okay, if I'm not going to do the clubs or restaurants anymore, what else am I good at? I love to travel. I've been to over 50 countries. I love learning. Even though I'm a high school dropout, I've been like a personal development junkie the last 5 years, just learning and absorbing. I love meeting new people, love sharing, I love fitness, love adventure, good food. So I thought, how could I take all of these things that I love and create a job out of it? And that's where the idea for the Alive experience came from, was how do I, combine my background in event planning and travel and creating experiences, whether it be entertainment or culinary, and pair that with my love for learning and sharing and helping others, through their journey. So the idea to create these curated trips where I get to take people to some of my favorite places in the world and feed them and share with them and do some crazy epic shit together. It's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. Sure. So I hosted my first one in March 2018, and halfway through, I just knew, like, okay, this is what I want to be doing. And it was actually on that first trip that I decided to close Blowfish.
Wow.
I'd Blowfish for 15 years, and we had closed that same week. No coincidence.
So you're at the first experience.
Yes. So
you have an experience.
Yes. So
tell me about that moment.
Okay.
Tell me about that moment. Paint
Yeah.
that picture, because when a realization like that is
Yeah.
not just like,
I
something
know,
happened.
It is so vivid. I got I closed my eyes and I'm back there.
Is that like an awakening? Is that like a moment of like clarity and like, like sometimes people downplay it, but it's like this, something tells you that's beyond
100%.
yourself. Like, hey, wake
I
the
was
fuck
having
up.
this conversation in my head. The two sides were like trying to rationalize, and one side clearly knew what the hell he was talking about. So it's like day 6 of my retreat of the Live experience, and we're there at this restaurant called La Luna, which is down the street from where I live in Playa Pilata. And half my group were drinking margaritas at the table, and the other half are playing in the ocean, taking selfies as the sun comes down. And I'm looking at this group of strangers who, a week ago they didn't know each other, and now they're hugging and laughing and having the best time. And I thought to myself, like, wow, like, I brought these people together. Like, I've seen them have their breakthroughs and their breakdowns, and they're supporting one another, and they're crying and they're laughing, they're hugging. I'm thinking, I want to do more of this. Like, this is what I want to do. And I was so conflicted because I just closed down Blowfish to begin renovations. We were waiting for permits from the city, had a new name, new layout, new design, new lease, raised $500,000. We were ready to go. And every cell in my body was like, don't do it. You don't want to do it. Don't do it. But I'm like, no, I got to do it. I have $1 million of my money, and it's my reputation. Blowfish is my baby. I've had it 15 years. Don't want to disappoint my investors. I got to do it. I got to do it. And then the other side of me was like, why do you want to do this? What are you, what are you trying to get out of it? And, for me, I was so caught up on, I don't want to lose my money. I don't want to lose my $1 million. And then I did the math, and it was like, okay, even if I reopen the restaurant and it's successful and we're doing $4 million a year at 18% profit margin, it's going to take me 8 years just to break even and get my money back. And that's 8 years that, first off, I don't know if we're going to do $4 million a year. or hit those profit margins. But what I do know is I'm going to wake up hating my life for the next 8 years. And it's going to keep me in Toronto, and I won't be able to do this. And I thought to myself, if someone said, Zark, here's your $1 million.
Opportunity cost.
Yeah, opportunity cost. If somebody said, hey, Zark, here's your $1 million back. Have a nice life. What would I do? I'd fly to Costa Rica. I'd buy some land, and I would begin building the Alive Institute. So then I thought, if I said, fuck it right now, I'm letting go of the money. I'm done. Could I not focus on Alive 100%, grow the business, and raise the money in the next 2 to 3 years to build the Alive Institute? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I believe in me. I believe in what I'm doing. And that's it. I'm all in.
And I think that's a huge realization because as an entrepreneur, you have this unique skill set that you are very resourceful. You can figure things out. You're a problem solver. That's the traits of an entrepreneur. So
yeah,
when you feel like locked in an investment, it's like a weird mentality because you want to win back. It's like that gambling. Like you got to make your investment back. So that's how gamblers get really stuck because they keep chasing their losses. And I had a very similar experience. I was building the float center. I was like, holy shit, I have all this money in, like maybe I just want to quit it all or like leave. But I just have to get really clear what was my intention, what did I want to do. When you have that realization like you did on the beach, like that's the profit right there.
Yeah.
That's the profit. You cannot make enough money and find an experience that you can pay for that'll give you that feeling that you felt when you're like, wow, I just made this happen. I made these people have an experience in their life, breakthrough, breakdown. I was the orchestrator for something so amazing that's changing lives. And that feeling there is priceless. When I started feeling that feeling the first few times, having those realizations, I knew this is what I want to do because I can't buy that feeling. I've made money before. It's a cool like dopamine rush where you feel like that rush of, I made a great deal or I made profit, but it's gone within, who knows, a couple of days, the first purchase, the way you spend it, it's gone. But that other feeling, it's just like, wow, it's a different type of energy.
Yeah. And like true fulfillment does not come from having that fancy car or whatever superficial materialistic possession you're chasing, job title, whatever. True fulfillment comes from when you are actually making a difference for others, when you are contributing. That type of fulfillment is what you'll go to your grave with.
Making meaningful contribution.
100%. And that's what I felt in that moment. In that moment, I felt like I'm helping these people and I'm having a lot of fun and it feels good. And I want to do more of this. And, for me, the money at that point was irrelevant because I knew like if I could keep doing this and spend more time in Costa Rica, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been playing around with this sort of idea about this sort of cycle that I've been figuring out, that I've been going through. And it's like relaxing, learning, creating, and then there's like a cycle. So when I wasn't relaxing, when I was working too hard, I was like, all I want to do is just relax, and then I don't want to do nothing. But then as soon as I get to that state of relaxation, I start getting curious. So I either want to learn or I want to create, because I think that's our natural state. If you believe in, some of like the Bible, like how we were made in the image of the Creator, I think that's true. We are designed to create things, but we got to create things that are meaningful to us, or else we get lost on this path. And then once we create something that we're happy with, we observe it, we enjoy it, we relax, we enjoy, and then that sort of thing starts ticking again. It's okay, what can I learn or create next? And it creates this amazing cycle of life. But it's important not to get lost in creating things just for money, because money just like pulls you away from that meaningfulness. It sidetracks you. Yeah. So you're doing that live experience now. You've done a bunch of them all over the world, a few different places, Costa Rica,
Whistler, Muskoka. Next one's in Tofino, and then Bali. Got Bali coming up in November.
So as an entrepreneur, what are the biggest challenges you're facing now? Because I know there's never a smooth and easy path. It's a lot of figuring out, especially such a change like that.
Yeah. So what's interesting is even though I've been really successful in nightlife and restaurants, and I've always been like the branding, promotion, marketing guy, it is a whole different mentality, or it's a very different marketing strategy or message that you have to use when you're trying to educate people on what transformation means. Because I could tell you the club and we have this DJ and this or the restaurant, we've got this menu or whatever it may be, but with transformation, for many people, they don't really understand what that means, because it's one of those things that you have to feel it to understand it. So sharing the message and the purpose of what the live experience is has been a whole
Give
new.
it to me right now. I've never heard of.
Right,
I've
okay.
seen you 10 years ago at a club. We had a booth and you came by and said hi, and I was really drunk. And
Got it.
I'm a little bit older now. I got some money. Tell me, what are you up to?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. So
sell it to me.
okay, so the live experience. These are highly curated trips that offer wellness, adventure, personal development, and connection. These are trips that are specifically designed and curated for people who are looking for what's next in life. For people who are looking to take life to that next level, whether it be career, whether it be relationships, personal joy, happiness, fulfillment, whether maybe it could be meeting like-minded friends. It's a way to travel, disconnect from the chaos and reality back home, and reconnect with yourself in a beautiful part of the world, in a new environment with a bunch of people you've never met before. And you're going to do different things that are going to push you mentally and physically outside of your comfort zone. And you're going to have a lot of fun. It might scare you a bit, and that's a good thing. And it's an awesome way to get away, take a break, and come home. Not necessarily you're coming home a different person, but you're coming home with a different perspective. See, and a lot of people, they travel and they go on vacation because they want to take a break from their life. They're stressed out. Work's getting hectic. Maybe they're not in a good, personal situation. So they go away, they go on vacation. They enjoy it for a week. But when they come home, they're coming back home to the life that they left. It's still there.
So how many people go in the live experience and come home and make some big change in their life? Is it very common? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people come home and quit the careers that they just weren't passionate about anymore. I've had people come home and take their relationship to the next level. Where they were on the fence, they'll come home and be like, no, you know what? Yeah, I want to be with you. And I know. So I've had people make, major life changes. I mean, I also have people who have come on the trips that are dealing with something pretty serious. I have people who have been considering suicide. I have people who've been dealing with addictions, depression. And on the trip, they just realize, like, life is beautiful. Life is worth living. And they've got this new tribe, this new group who are there to support them. People need community.
It's one of the key things that is lacking in our modern society. Is like, everyone lives in a community with a community center with neighbors.
Yeah. But how connected are you?
But like 2 neighbors down from you,
Yeah.
like 3 neighbors down, how often do you ever even have a conversation with them?
Yeah.
We build these big fences in between us so we can't see or talk or like interfere with our neighbors. But having a community is one of the, there's this book called Radical Remission, and it's about people that survive cancer, and they found like 9 traits across these thousands of patients that actually got better. And one of them was being part of a community. That's how important it is that people actually can heal and get better. When you feel isolated, like addiction is like a disease of isolation. They say that a lot. Loneliness is a killer too. Like people who are lonely will die way sooner than people who are not lonely. So creating more community, I love it. I love what you're doing. I love the pitch you just gave. I'm excited. I'm going to come on one of your trips.
Awesome.
Sooner or later, I'll be there. So I guess, so the biggest challenge is marketing. It's just getting people to understand what transformation is. Like,
So, I mean, having people not just understand what transformation is or what they would get from the trip, but also understanding that this is something they could use, something that they might even need. Because often people aren't quite sure what isn't working in their life. They know they're not 100% happy, but it's like, well, it's not so bad. I could just keep going. So it's important that you're ready for this experience. Like, you're ready to do the work. Because otherwise...
you ever get people that are dragged along by their spouse or their friend coming in?
No, most people come single. Most people come alone.
Ready to go.
Because they're doing it for them. They're at a point where it's like, okay, I got to figure it out.
I need something to change.
I need something to change, and this trip looks like a lot of fun. It looks like something I could,
Have you been able to leverage your, I guess, your personal brand from the past, that people trust you, that know that you do cool shit, and you're, like, okay, Zark must be doing something right. He knows. Yeah.
So the majority of the people who come on these trips are people who used to come to the clubs or come to the restaurants. They've been following my journey on social media for the last, 2 or 3 years, and they see that I went from being the King Street nightclub guy to now living in Costa Rica and live a far more simple life. And they could see that I'm happier and lighter than ever before.
So you're much happier now. So the
Oh,
change is working in
absolutely.
the right direction.
100%.
Okay.
100,000%.
Oh, you look happy.
Yeah.
I didn't know you too well before. We only became actual friends in the last year,
Yeah.
but you seem like you're
Yeah.
having a good time. Yeah.
Life is beautiful.
Okay. Cool.
So
Yeah,
so
go.
people,
Yeah.
they see what my life was like before and how involved I was in my career, and at what level I'm successful, very successful at doing that. And I chose to leave that to do something that I'm truly passionate about. And I let go of that identity and all the attachment I had to what made me that Zark, and surrendered to this new life. Just said, I'm going to do what makes me happy. And I don't care if I don't have the Range Rover anymore, if I don't have whatever. It's like, I just want to wake up, be happy. And I think what resonates for most people is if they had the chance to start all over again, wipe the slate clean, start a new life, I think a lot of people would do it. However, their commitments, their so-called obligations, the things that they think are really critical to their lives, they're not willing to let go of.
Sounds like you'd make a good life transition coach. Like, how do you really do it? Like, 'cause a lot of people say,
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. I
Yeah.
wish I could just walk away from this, or
Yeah.
which really they can. It's just themselves
Yeah.
holding it back.
100%.
But sometimes people need someone to say, hey,
Yeah.
this is how you do it.
Yeah.
First thing.
And I'm actually launching my coaching practice
Okay.
now, and I've had people reach out. Like, I have one guy, he wants to move his family to Costa Rica, and he wants to know, like, how did you do it? Like, he's asking everything about schools for his kids. He's asking everything from, like, what's the work like down there? What's the internet like down there? Because there are people who, they just want to get the hell out of North America, and they want to go. Like, living in Costa Rica is a dream for some people. So yeah, I actually have had people reach out and say, I don't want to do my career anymore. I'm not in love with this job, and I want to do something new. And can you, I get asked 3 questions: why, what, and how. Like, why did I leave? What was the catalyst, the turning point, and how am I making it work? So I should maybe start some online how to leave your life course and
How to escape
it.
North America
Yeah,
and live a better life.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so so that's where you're at now. So now you're doing this, doing a few a year, and life is good, and you're continually learning. So you said something earlier, you're a personal development junkie. So what's been like, if there's one thing in the personal development field that's really made the most impact, is there anything that stands out to you that you can share?
Well, as far as like education or courses, definitely Landmark.
Landmark. Okay,
I've
you
done a
mentioned
number
that.
of, that was a game changer in many, many ways. Attending summits and forums like the Archangel event, Mastermind Talks, just like being in the room with people who are way smarter than I am. It's a good thing to be the dumbest guy in the room, because that just means you get to just soak it all up and learn. So that getting outside of my comfort zone and allowing myself to be in that room and know that, okay, I'm not the smartest guy in here. I'm definitely not the richest guy in here. And I'm okay with that.
And being wanting to learn, I think that's key, because a lot of entrepreneurs are know-it-alls because they've done everything themselves.
Yeah.
So they've like very ego, like I'm not listening to anyone else. So being humble enough to say, like, I'm the dumbest guy in the room and I want to learn from all these guys. That's
For
how you
sure.
grow, right?
Totally.
Like that's really
If you're the
important.
smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room. I like
What else?
that
So
one.
I would say, probably one of the biggest shifts with me through all the personal development was letting go of trying to look good all the time and just being vulnerable and just letting people know what's really going on, because
Doesn't it feel like a weight lifted off your shoulder?
100%. And what's interesting is we hold back from saying what's real because we don't want to look bad. But what's interesting is when you let go of trying to look good and you're willing to look bad and just say whatever it is, you end up looking good, because it's like, oh, wow, he's actually for real. He's saying something that I resonate with. And now that person responds because they now have permission to share what's going on with them. And now you're having a real conversation. When you both walk away from one another, you'd be like, okay, that was great, you know?
And I think that there are extra senses that we have when we can tell when people are authentic. Like there's a deeper connection. Like your heart
Totally.
gives off a field of like
Yeah.
27 feet around you, and it's always giving off information. And I
Mhm.
think when you lie or you're not sincere about things, like people can sort of feel on it. They might not
Totally.
logically register it, but maybe their body's picking up on or something. But when you have that really like authentic conversation, like you feel it. The conversation is more interesting. Like
Yeah.
you really like dive right into it. So I think that that's a key, and it's just letting people know not to be afraid to be themselves. And I think that's the big thing. Like my family thinks I'm nuts. Like I'll do whatever. Like I don't care. Like sometimes I think I got some attention seeking in my like subconscious mind. It's still
Okay.
part of me for validation,
Right.
but like I'm the type of person that I'll do whatever I feel like doing. You know what I mean? Just because I think it's fun or it's, and I wasn't always like that because again, I was worried about what people would think, you know, like this and that. But it's so liberating to be yourself.
Totally.
You know, no matter what. Like I'll wear like a crystal necklace that, you know, my mom says looks like a dick with balls. And that's my mom and for my family. It's like, wait, wearing that thing. So my wife
Wow.
made it for me. I guess
Okay.
she's trying to tell me something, you know? But, you know, like at first when I'd wear like necklaces that I liked, I'd go to a business meeting and I go like this. I'd be
Yeah.
like whatever. Or I'd cover up my tattoos because
Right.
I don't want them to think of me in a different way.
Yeah.
But then I got to the point where it was like, if they don't like me because of my tattoos, I don't want to do business with them
Exactly.
anyways. You
Yeah.
know, like fuck them. Like not in any way, but they're at that level of consciousness that I don't really want to deal with. And you know, and being more myself and being out there, like people start getting curious. Like when I published the documentary on psychedelics.
Yeah.
You know, I thought some people would think I'm nuts, which they probably did, but a lot of people had questions. A lot of people from my past were like, hey, you know, like saw a documentary, like,
Yeah.
what's it all about? Like ayahuasca and this and that. And so
Yeah.
like we get to talk openly about these things and these experiences that I've had, which some of them are totally crazy. Some of the experiences I've had trying to explain to people, it sounds nuts. It sounds like
Yeah.
some wild movie or something, but the impact it has had on my life was so profound that I wanted to share it because I was hoping that some other people might have that curiosity to go searching for it themselves, which
Right.
leads me to my next question. What's your relationship with psychedelics? Yes, no, maybe, not talking about it?
Yes. So, maybe a few years ago, I wouldn't talk about it because, you know, fear of being judged is whatever. But I'm a big fan of psychedelics. I think psychedelics are going to change the world. I think psychedelics are a powerful tool that our species needs right now to tap into a higher level of consciousness, to tap into who we really are, and get connected to ourselves and each other. You know, I messed around with mushrooms years ago, more in like a party type setting. However, whenever I have done mushrooms, you know, years and years ago, I used to have and always have had the most amazing conversations with myself. Again, two sides of me are sitting there talking and making a lot of sense.
A lot of
like,
sense.
yeah, like what I'm hearing up there is like, yeah, that,
Some of the perspectives are so
Yeah.
foreign to your regular thinking. It's like, oh, I never thought about that before.
yes, and I've been able to take the knowledge and the wisdom from those conversations out of that experience and apply it to my life. So, you know, when I have taken mushrooms, it's not like I'm high off my ass, like tripping on Molly and, you know, just completely spaced out. Like I actually now have used psilocybin and mushrooms in a, I would say therapeutic, but more like in a personal development.
As a tool.
As a tool. And, you know, get together friends, we're camping, we're out in nature, going on a nice long hike. Yeah, we will have some mushrooms and enjoy nature. The conversations get deep, and I find I'm far more present, grounded, connected. I feel really, you know, one with nature, and I think mushrooms really have been around for obviously thousands and thousands of years. I think it's played a significant part in history, religion, spirituality many, many years ago. And I think they got a bad rap. I think
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of theories like Terrence McKenna's got the stone ape theory where like before we were humans, we were scavenging through, and we'd find these mushrooms on cow dung patties,
Mm-hmm.
and that caused our evolution. Like eating the psychedelics caused us to evolve into humans. Like that's
Interesting.
one of the theories.
Wow.
And I know that there's another podcast I listened to recently. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was talking about how all the high priest in the tabernacle was actually like a tent where they would like burn like frankincense, myrrh, all these types of things that would get them super stoned. They had visions that they'd bring back and preach, or if they had to attack an enemy, they get all high and say, is it a good time, is it a bad time? They use it as a tool for making decisions. So I think we're just right at the sort of turning point, where they are going to start being used more in the mainstream as tools for personal development, tools for healing depression, anxiety,
Sure.
PTSD, and then even tools for experiences, like in a live experience where you can legally have like a mushroom experience.
Yeah.
And then share
And
it.
I've had guests ask me,
Yeah.
would I offer ayahuasca? Would I offer psilocybin at the retreats? And to be honest, it's something I would consider, but I think that would be like level 2 or level 3 of the trip, because some people hear about the benefits of ayahuasca. They hear how it can be incredibly healing and therapeutic for deep trauma, and people want to dive in right away, try ayahuasca to accelerate their personal development or their healing, and that's not a good idea.
No, I agree. And I think patience is really important in personal development. It's like not trying to rush it. Like, yeah, you can do it, but like you have to be patient with yourself, with the whole process, and allow it to unfold. Every time I rush too far, I always get a really good life lesson about slow down, take it easy. There's no rush.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no rush.
Because the thing is, you can do the plant medicine, whether it be ayahuasca, ibogaine, psilocybin, whatever, Campbell. I mean, there's a whole plethora of
Options.
and you might get the downloads, you might get this knowledge that you needed, but then you don't know how to integrate back into your life if you don't have that practice, if you don't have that ritual, if you're not meditating, if you're not already grounded, and you get that, and then you would almost be worse off.
It happens. Yeah, it happens where people do become worse off because they don't know how to integrate.
No.
And they're caught in between. And especially if they're doing it in their everyday life. So when people go away for a couple of weeks, they have an experience, have a few weeks to integrate in nature, something quiet, think about what's going to happen. Some people in the city will do an experience, go back to work on Monday, in that environment that brought them to that point of needing it in the first place.
I can't even
they're in
imagine.
trouble.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
Some people are so desperate, they feel like they need to try anything. And that's what this like crazy legal system's pushing people to do. Like they're making these things illegal. And I understand from safety perspectives why, but having zero access and then people wanting to do it because they've seen what it can do, it's just creating this sort of really weird scenario where some people are using it and getting a lot out of it. Some people are actually getting worse and creating a bad name for some of these things.
Totally.
Right?
And that's why, whether it be LSD or mushrooms back in the 60s and 70s where it got completely outlawed, it's because people were abusing it. You got a couple of people who just had bad experiences and got eradicated. But I do agree, MDMA is in phase 3 clinical trials for PTSD, ibogaine, 80% success rate with heroin addicts after one use.
That's crazy. No, some of these things, what they're doing, there's nothing in the market that comes even close to like the percentages of like cure rates. I don't even use like the word cures, but like improvement. It's like it's not even close. Like smoking, and you can be here forever naming it. But I'm optimistic that we'll see in the next few years big changes, which is already coming.
Yeah,
you
I
already see
agree.
it coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a couple questions. So any documentaries or books that you read in the last couple of years during your journey that really was like a turning point for you, or really opened your mind to a different way of thinking?
So one of the books I recommend to all my guests is The Surrender Experiment.
Oh, I love that book. It's one of my favorites. I also recommend that to everybody.
Yeah, that and Untethered Soul, both amazing books. A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Like, if the New Earth was mandatory reading in schools, we'd be living on a different planet. Like, that book is just...
They need to change some of the school books. Like, some of these like personal development books is what need to be in the schools.
100%.
Yeah.
Agreed. Trying to think if, I enjoy movies. I just don't watch them that often.
Yeah, it's okay. Those are
Mhm.
great
Yeah.
recommendations. Yeah, and one thing I love the most about this surrender experiment is this. It's a personal true story
Hmm.
of a guy who just
Yeah.
sort of surrendered to the flow of life
Yeah.
and was just accepting of anything that came
Yeah.
his way, not trying to judge the outcome of trying to control
Hmm.
the path, saying, okay, like
Yeah.
let me just surrender to this. And it was such a beautiful story, and I try to embody that as much as I can. Like it was one of the books that I actually say, like, yeah, I really integrate this into my life. When something comes that at first seems like I want to avoid it or not, it's
Hmm.
like, okay, look, I'm gonna just let this unfold and
Yeah.
see what happens. And so far, it's been amazing.
And I think that's why it resonates for me, because I am and always have been very much a control freak. Why I'm an entrepreneur, and that's why, I've gone on my own from a young age. And what I got from the book is, no matter how planned or organized or scheduled you think you are, we have no control.
And that comes back to something we talked about earlier about like having a clear vision.
Hmm.
Um, I think the plan is not as important as having a vision of where you want to go,
Hmm.
because the vision you can get there many different
Yeah.
ways. But so many times I've tried to make a step-by-step plan, and usually
Hmm.
by step 2 or 3, the whole plan is
Yeah.
out. You know what I mean? And where I was trying to end up, because it was very logical. Like I wasn't
Hmm.
thinking like, hey, I want to have freedom. I want to like envision that type of life. I was like, I want this, and this, and it usually goes in a totally different direction.
Yeah.
So it's key to like really envision the type of life, like the
Yeah.
feelings you want to feel, flexibility, freedom, being on your own clock, some of those things you mentioned.
Yeah.
But don't be so fixated on that plan.
Yeah. What I like to suggest is have an intention, but don't have an expectation.
Beautiful.
Have that intention, plant that vision, know that that's where you want to go, but don't have expectations that it's going to go exactly according to plan, because it never will.
Be prepared
Yeah.
for it not to. I think that's what
Yeah.
a good advice to entrepreneurs is: be prepared for everything possible to go wrong,
Yeah.
but like sail with
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? Just it's part of the
Yeah.
process.
What do they say? Hope for the best, plan for the
Plan
worst.
for the worst. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So how about like gadgets, devices, anything now in your personal development that you swear by, or something that's really give you more awareness? Could be an app, could be a device.
Yeah.
Anything that's in your life right now that you say is a game changer for your own personal development? I don't put you on the spot here.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think. I try to keep it old school with just always have a journal with me, always writing. I mean, no, it's not a gadget or
It's a
technology,
tool, yeah.
but I believe the power of writing is important. A friend recently bought me for my birthday the Muse meditation band. I had one before, then my dog ate it. So this is the second one. I've just opened it up. I haven't started using it again. I'm mentioning it now because for anybody who wants to start meditating, it is a piece of technology that can help people. I meditate without a device. What I do find is helpful is some of these apps, some of the meditation apps that have amazing guided meditations, have incredible music that I could play just in the background that kind of help me stay in that state. Brain FM, Brain FM has a variety of music choices that you can listen to for focus, for sleep, for studying, for meditation. I downloaded a new one recently called Insight Timer. That one was really great as well. So yeah, I'm always looking for new music and new yeah.
There's some great recommendations. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so one or two more questions. So if I know most people that are at this point in their life, going through these changes, understand that everything they had to go through was part of the process. So they wouldn't want to change anything.
Sure.
But if there was just one thing that you can go back and change, what would it be?
That's a good question. Yeah, well,
Do differently, just anything that you think would have maybe made this happen sooner,
yeah,
or like
I would have, if there was one thing I could have go back and do differently, is just be more present. Just be there to enjoy the moments, like really be there. Because I've spent so much of my life focused on the next goal that even when I've accomplished my goal, I don't even get to enjoy it because I'm already thinking about the next goal. So being present, enjoying those moments, and just living with intention, living with clear vision and boundaries to move in the direction of what it is I want to create.
Yeah, the way I like to describe that is like the vision is where you want to go towards. The intention is how you do everything on your way there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just like the energy you bring through all the things that you do. So authenticity, honesty, that kind of stuff. Just being really clear.
Yeah, because I look back on my 20s and my 30s, and it's like I was just running around traveling the world, having lots of fun, but there was no intention. There was no plan. There was no desired outcome. It was just, I'm just having fun. And I was having fun. It was great, but then I was already focused on the next trip, next whatever it was I was chasing next. So I wasn't even really there to enjoy it,
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay, last question. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you wish I did ask you about?
Where do I see myself in 5 years?
Okay. Yeah. Where are you going to be?
Definitely still spending most of my time in Costa Rica. I just love it there. Costa Rica's home for me, for sure. Hopefully with 2 or 3 kids. I definitely want family.
Not hopefully.
Hopefully.
With
2 or 3 kids.
Take the word hopefully out. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Got it.
With 2 or 3 kids.
With a partner.
With a partner.
I don't know if I'm going to get married. I do know that I want to have that divine union with a partner where we co-create together. We help change people's lives together. We're, a powerful force together. That's a relationship. That's a partnership that I want. Spending my time between Costa Rica, British Columbia, here in Ontario. I have a vision to create multiple Alive Institutes where we teach our program and framework to people, hopefully all around the world. Get rid of the word hopefully, right?
Yeah, no, hopefully. Yeah. Make it happen.
Yeah, just loving life still.
Sounds good
Fit,
to me.
healthy, laughing, light. Yeah, that's... And the reason why I asked that question is because I just turned 45 on Saturday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, on the 17th. And when I woke up on my 40th birthday and realized that life was not going the way I hoped it was going to pan out, I made a commitment to myself on that day and said by 45, like, that's it. I'm not waking up feeling this way. And I woke up on my 45th birthday and I'm like, I'm happy.
Clear vision.
Yeah, life.
You knew exactly where you had to get.
100%.
Amazing.
So where do I want to be at 50? Well, that's it. These are the things that I'm creating for my life at 50. So
amazing.
I can't believe 50. Like, wow, that sounds really old.
You look like you're 30, man. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Like,
Give me some of your top secrets.
Hammam spa. How old are you?
37.
Oh, wow.
37. Yeah.
Young guy.
So I got some catching up to do.
37.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm having fun. Yeah. It's just a number at this point.
100%.
You know? And it's how you live, the energy you bring to your life. Some people are dead at 20 and some people are still kids at 85.
Agreed.
So just a number. But take care of your body because you want to do those things when you get older.
For sure. And that's the one thing I'm really grateful for. I started working out at the age of 18, and I'm not going to lie, I started training because I just want to be cool, get a little muscle on, get laid. Like, it was all about trying to compensate.
That's the way most guys start working.
Yeah. And now, like, fast forward many, many years later, 28 years later, I can now see how so many years of training and maintaining a healthy lifestyle has benefited me. So, to anybody young who's listening to this, go to the gym. Even if it's 3 days a week, go to the gym, stop eating processed food. You will thank yourself 30 years from now. Trust me.
Awesome. That's a great way to end off. Beautiful advice. And it's your birthday. I got a book for you. It's one of my favorite books, The Way to Love by Anthony DeMello. Have you read this one yet?
Okay. I've heard, or maybe I'm getting it confused with Marianne Williamson's Return to Love.
Okay.
So The Way to Love. Okay.
This is a pocketbook.
Oh,
you read a few pages at a time.
Book.
It's an amazing, amazing book. So enjoy that. It's one of my favorite books to gift. It's small. You can buy a whole bunch of them at a time. And it's also your birthday. So I had a present ready for you. Something intuitively.
Awesome.
Brought it with me. Okay, so Zark, thank you so much. If people want to connect with you, where do they find you?
Sure. So my website, zarkfatah.com, zarkfath.com.
F-A-T-A-H.
F-A-T-A-H. Did I spell my last name?
No, you said it really quick, so I almost missed it.
And I'm sure it'll be in the caption down below or something. Yeah. If you want to learn more about The Alive Experience, it is thealiveexperience.com. On Instagram, it's at Zark Fatah. Yeah, that's how you can find out.
Awesome.
Yep.
So connect with Zark, follow him on social media, follow us, subscribe, like, share. And have an amazing day. This is the Elemental Awakening signing off. I'm your host, Giovanni Bartolomeo. My guest today, Zark. Thank you so much. We got his crew in here. I just want to send a thank you to Moshe, and also, of course, to Marco Frugale. Thanks, guys,
Yep.
and we'll see you soon.
Cool.
Peace.
Thank you.